Meeting is called to order.
Hello, everyone. A very good evening to all of you. I request President Rotarian Lal Goel to please confirm the minutes of the last meeting.
The minutes of the last meeting were circulated, and as I have not received any objection or observation from any of the members, so I presume that every one of you have confirmed. So I hereby confirm the minutes of the previous meeting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goel. And also going on with the agenda for today, we have with us Rotarian Nitin Shah, who's a very eminent Rotarian and is also who is going to give us a talk on the effect of hypnosis on organs. And to give his brief introduction, I would like to call upon Rotarian Professor Sudhir Saran. So please, if you could just unmute yourself.
Yes. Good morning. It's my honor to introduce Rotarian Shah. Just give me a moment. I have this device which is playing little hokey. So just a moment, please.
Professor Saran is right now in Rochester, USA.
Yes. It is my honor to introduce Rotarian Nitin Shah. He is the CEO of ICHARS, Institute of Clinical Hypnosis and Related Sciences, and he is director of ICHARS Support Foundation. He is distinguished mental health professional who has made significant contributions to the field of psychological wellness. Originally from Indore, he moved to Mumbai after his 12th grade, where he pursued commerce, law, and company secretaryship before discovering his passion for mental health sciences. With a master's in counseling psychology and certification in integrated clinical hypnotherapy, Rotarian Nitin has developed pioneering approaches like cognitive hypnotic coaching, CHC in short, and cognitive hypnotic psychotherapy, CHP in short. These innovative techniques integrate classical psychology with hypnosis and neuro-linguistic programming through the proprietary Soft C framework. As founder of the MHP initiative and a member of the Rotary Club of Seacoast, Mumbai, Rotarian Nitin has over long 12 years of coaching experience and 10 years in training through ICHARS Support Foundation, which was established in 2018. He works to create a holistic system connecting various stakeholders in the mental health landscape. Beyond his professional achievements, Rotarian Nitin is a food enthusiast who enjoys Marwari cuisine and is the author of Destiny of Choice, which is a self-help guide based on his love story. In his leisure time, he explores website development, content creation, and enjoys Hindi romantic songs and Bollywood movies. Welcome, Rotarian Nitin. We are very eager to hear your presentation. We are all there. Without taking much more time, we hand over the mic to Rotarian Nitin Shah.
Before Rotarian Nitin Shah will come, I will just say that he is also the president of Rotary Club of Bombay Seacoast. Yes. Now, for everything is in front of you. You can speak. Rotarian Nitin Shah, please.
So thank you everyone for being here, for inviting me for this conversation with all of you. Before we begin, I would like to thank all of you for working so relentlessly towards a cause which literally saves life. So to all of you from the Rotary Club of Organ Donation International, a big thank you and congratulations for all the good work that you have been doing. Now coming to what we are here to talk about. which is hypnosis and its relationship with organs and how it can help both the people who are donating the organs or who are receiving the organs. So I'm going to break our conversation today in 3 sections. In the first section, we will focus predominantly on what is hypnosis, understanding how hypnosis works and how it can help us create change. Second will be about quickly listing down the pre and post challenges that donors and receivers have when it comes to organs. And lastly, what role hypnosis can play in addressing those challenges and concerns. Should that be good for all of us?
Yes, please.
Now, as we go along, I'm sure you will have certain questions. You can put those questions in the chat box. I would, if I can take them along the way to explain certain topics, take them up. Otherwise, we'll take all the questions towards the end. Okay? All right. So let's start with hypnosis. What is hypnosis? Different people define hypnosis in different ways. Some people say it's a state of deep relaxation. Others say it's a trance-like state. Others believe it's a state where you can control other people. Right? So what is hypnosis really? To understand hypnosis, we need to think of hypnosis in 2 terms. Hypnosis as a process and hypnosis as a state. So as a process, hypnosis means any technique that can help people get into a hypnotic state. That's it. Which then brings us to what is a hypnotic state. It's a state of receptivity. What does receptivity mean in this context? So to understand the concept of receptivity, we need to understand the model of mind, the way we generally look at the mind. So mind in our model gets divided in 3 categories: conscious mind, critical filter, and unconscious mind. Conscious mind is that part of you where you are making decisions and you are taking actions through conscious efforts. So for example, if I'm sure you have learned to drive a car, most of you have. So when you learn to drive a car initially, you decide I want to drive, and then every activity that you are doing is a very conscious activity. You literally think, acha, where is the steering? Where is the gear? How far my hand has to go to the gear? So all of this is being done consciously. Unconscious, on the other hand, is that part of you that controls all your automatic responses and is the storehouse of all your experience. So today, when you wake up in the morning, so you put an alarm because you want to wake up. In the morning, the alarm rings. And in a half sleepy state, your hand crawls out of the bed, puts the alarm on snooze, and you go off to sleep. Now, consciously, you wanted to wake up. Therefore, you put the alarm. Why did you put the alarm on snooze? That instinct that I'm feeling lethargic, that I want to sleep for 10 more minutes, is not really a conscious instinct. It's happening automatically. So those automated responses in your system are all controlled by the unconscious. Are we clear till here? Conscious and unconscious? So when we say hypnosis is the process of helping people get into a receptive state, we are saying that hypnosis helps people's unconscious become more receptive. Now, why does the unconscious need to become more receptive? Let's say I want to quit gulab jamun. Anyone here who wants to change their eating habits? So let's say I want to quit gulab jamuns. I have decided that consciously. Then I come across a gulab jamun in one of the Rotary functions. And what happens? I have this instinctive feeling this is the last one. And then every time I look at the gulab jamun in every Rotary meeting, the feeling is this is the last one. And I am not able to change that pattern of giving up the gulab jamun. The same applies to quitting smoking or any other behavior pattern that I want to break. Consciously, I want to break it, but something inside me stopping me from breaking it. So that something inside me is the unconscious. Now, why is the unconscious not letting me quit gulab jamun if I want to? Because of one of 2 reasons. One, either the information that I'm choosing consciously is not even reaching the subconscious or the unconscious. So if the information doesn't reach the unconscious, then can the unconscious accept it? The answer is no. So why is the information not reaching the unconscious? Remember I spoke about critical filter earlier, that there are three parts. So critical filter is our beliefs, our decisions that we have made over a period of time. Now, when I make a decision that contradicts my beliefs, that contradicts my old decisions, my mind generally has a tendency to discard them. And it's doing it for my interest. Let's assume for a moment that I have been brought up in a way in which I have been successful at multiple things I've done. I initiated a new project and the project failed. So for a moment, I will have the thought in my head, I failed, I'm a failure. Now that information goes to the critical filter and the critical filter says rubbish. So it's trying to protect me. The problem in case of gulab jamun is that, well, the building blocks for that belief are faulty. And now that belief has been formed. So the purpose of hypnosis predominantly is to bypass the critical filter to send the information to the unconscious so that the unconscious knows that consciously I have decided to quit. Now, once the unconscious knows it, the chances are it will act upon it and make it happen. So the next time when I look at gulab jamun, my first thought may already be I am full, and the feeling may be contentment. And if I'm already feeling content and full, will I eat too many gulab jamuns after that? The chances are unlikely. Similarly, if I wanted to quit smoking, and I wanted to quit smoking, let's say because I'm about to have a child and I want to be a good role model for my child. Now, most people will tell you I smoke and then I feel guilty later on. Why? Because I remember, oh, I wanted to give up smoking for my children. What if we could create an association where the moment the person looks at the cigarette, their unconscious reminds them of the face of their child. Now, the guilt comes even before they smoke, and the chances are they will not smoke. So these are examples of why the unconscious needs to become receptive. But this is only a part of the story. Here we are using the hypnotic process to help the person get into a state where their unconscious can accept ideas and act upon it. There are other places where you may give the unconscious certain suggestions, but it will not agree. So it's not that the information has not reached the unconscious, it is reached. It's just choosing to ignore that information. Now, why would the unconscious choose to ignore the information? Because the information itself is serving an important purpose for the unconscious. Going back to the gulab jamun example. Let's say when I was young, my parents would sit with me and feed me a lot of sweets as a way of expressing their love to me. So now in my system, there's a strong association between love and gulab jamun. So while consciously I decide to quit gulab jamun, my unconscious is saying I'm quitting love, which is very important for the unconscious. Now, unless my unconscious finds a better way of experiencing love, will it let me quit gulab jamun? The chances is no. And even if I quit it in the short run, when I go through an emotional turmoil, there's a high probability that I'll have a relapse because I will go back to eating gulab jamun. That is the reason why in addictions, in habit patterns, the degree of relapses are so high because we're trying to consciously overpower the unconscious without addressing the unconscious's needs. Now, this, in short, is what hypnosis is. A state of receptivity that helps us connect to the unconscious, either impress upon the unconscious what we want consciously, or seek answers from the unconscious to figure out why the unconscious is not willing to support us, and that information then can help us in creating a win-win scenario where the unconscious wants through alternate behaviors, and the conscious still gets to align the unconscious with it. One short example to explain this, and then we can go into the organ donation part of it. So I was working with someone who wanted to quit tea, and they tried everything to quit. They would quit it for some time, and then after some time they will get back to drinking tea again. We worked through hypnotic processes. The association between tea and them was that tea would make them feel as if they're awake and they're fresh. So when we continued working after a couple of sessions, they came back and they told me, Nitin, now I in the morning go to make a cup of tea. I put the water but I just don't feel like putting tea in the warm water. I take the warm water, I drink it, and I don't feel the urge or the craving to have tea. Now, this replacement of tea with warm water was an association we created in the hypnotic state. Now that that association is created, the feeling fresh is still happening with the warm water. So the unconscious gets what it wants. And at the same time, the conscious is able to impress upon the unconscious its desire to quit tea. And the person is able to quit tea. So I hope this helps you understand how broadly the process of hypnosis works. Lastly, if you have done any kind of guided meditations, all guided meditations by definition is hypnosis. Someone is guiding you through a process to help you experience something based on a suggestion that they've given you. There is no simpler, easier, better definition of hypnosis than this. Now, I understand someone may argue that Nitin, meditation came before hypnosis came later. So we would like to call it meditation and not hypnosis. That's your choice. You can call it Timbuktu. Doesn't really make much of a difference. What is important is the impact it's creating in the lives of people. Now, this is broadly what hypnosis really is and what the experience of hypnosis would be like. Can I move on to the organ donation part of it, or is there any question that you want me to take up quickly right now?
We will take the questions afterwards once you will finish them.
Okay, all right, perfect. Now, when it comes to organs, there are two parts to this story. There's one, what can hypnosis do with people who are already healthy, but they want to maintain health or they want to become healthy, right? In terms of all emotional, mental, behavioral conflicts, hypnosis can help people create a change. So be it stress, be it anxiety, be it sleeplessness, insomnia, be it lifestyle issues, where people want to change their lifestyles, but they're not able to change their lifestyles. In all of these areas, hypnosis can help people create a change or can help you sustain your current behaviors or strengthen your current habits, which are healthy habits. So in that sense, since we all know that stress, anxiety, all these emotional baggages influence our body and our organs in different ways, the moment you help the mind address this, it creates an environment for your health to remain better and probably even improves the health further. This could include your digestive system, immune system. I work with people with psychosomatic allergies. So any psychosomatic issue that people are struggling with, hypnosis comes into play and helps people develop better resilience and better habits. That's about healthy organs. And then we come to the main part of what we are here to talk about, which is what happens with the people who donate organs and the ones who receive organs. How does hypnosis help all of them? So let's break the challenges that these people face in different categories. Broadly, before the surgery, during the surgery, and after the surgery. Now, during the surgery part is something that the surgeon takes care of. So I'm not going to step into that. Though even over there, hypnoanesthesia can play an extremely important role. But that's a further more advanced topic. Before and after is what we...
Yeah, please go ahead.
I'm so sorry, sir's on
Am I
mute.
audible for all of you?
Yes, you're audible now. I was clicking unmute for someone else and got clicked for you. I'm very sorry.
Not an issue, not an issue. Don't worry. So I was talking about the before and after when it comes to organ donation. So someone who is about or who has to make the decision to donate the organ, what are the challenges that they face? One is they may not be sure whether this is the right decision. They may not even be able to decide whether they want to donate the organ or not. This we are talking about people who are healthy and are looking at donating organs to other people. So that's one. Second will be if they decide to donate the organ, after that, there is the anxiety about what would my life be without this organ? Will I be able to cope up? Which is the second part of the story. And third is the pain, which they may experience because of the different procedures that they are going through. In all these three areas, hypnosis can help. When it comes to decision making, hypnosis can help people get in touch with their intrinsic values, which will help them make a better decision as to why they want to donate and how the donation actually provides them a way to reach their higher goals. Because eventually a lot of us wants to move towards self-actualization. So there's one part of it that you actually can connect it to purpose, meaning in life. And second is also, why are you looking at donating it to someone? Because they're important to you. So you can help them focus shift to areas which will support them in making that decision. One. Second, if they're feeling anxious after making that decision, their anxiety is predominantly arising from the fact that they don't know what the future would be like without the organ. They may have planned for it, but planning is one part of the story. Having faith and confidence that your plans will work is a very different part of the story altogether. Hypnosis can help people experience that faith, that confidence, and the practitioner who's working with them can actually help them experience it and install it. So that going forward during the entire process, they maintain that level of hope, they maintain that level of confidence that things are going to turn out to be fine for them. And hypnosis can help them manage pain. So a lot of times when we experience pain, while there's obviously the actual physical pain, but many times that degree of pain gets exaggerated by our expectation of it. And hypnosis can help people understand their pain thresholds and help them regulate their pain thresholds, thereby helping them in managing pain effectively. In fact, a lot of people who, so this is not only related to organ donation, but even in general, there are people who at a particular point of time and age start experiencing certain aches and pains. And doctors tell them that ये तो age की वजह से हो रहा है. There is not much. You can also use hypnosis to help them manage that pain more effectively without the medications, because the medications have its own potential side effect. Obviously, with organ donations, you will still have the component of surgery, the medical practitioners, the medicines, and everything involved. But there are applications of hypnosis in pain management beyond that also. So that's the part with pre-surgery. Then comes post-surgery. So there is one, their body's ability to recover, which hypnosis can enhance by enhancing the body's inherent healing abilities and adaptable abilities. All of our bodies have inherent healing abilities. We just at times are able to use it, at times we are not able to use it. Hypnosis can become a very handy tool to help you do the same. Second, many times there is the donor's remorse, where they've made the donation and then retrospectively they're feeling a sense of sadness or a remorse. Have I done the right thing? That remorse is more psychological. So again, hypnosis can help people get connected to their underlying purpose, their original reasons for donation, and can help them get in touch with that enthusiasm, that faith, that confidence that with which they donated in the first place. And then would be the last part, which is also about certain expectations. So many times, even in general, if in my life I'm doing something for someone, there's a high possibility that I would expect something from them if I need their help. So now if someone has donated an organ to someone, and if this person needs help in future, the chances are there is a degree of expectation they have from the person to whom they've donated. Many times those expectations may be met, many times those expectations may not be met. And then that leads to its own complications in terms of relationships, in terms of their personal stress levels and so on. So here again, hypnosis can come very handy. Right? Now, when I say it can come very handy, how does that happen? You can either induce people in a hypnotic state to give them suggestions, which then changes their thought patterns intrinsically, or you can also connect to the unconscious to help the unconscious realize what was the original purpose of doing all this. Right? There are multiple therapeutic and change processes for it. So I'm not going into the names of the processes, but broadly, this is how it will work. Then comes the idea of people who have received the organs. Many a times, when someone recognizes that they would need an organ, they don't even know whether they will get the organ or not. That is the place at times they many times lose hope. They become irritable. They become stressed, and then it leads to more complications. That is a place where hypnosis can help them enhance their level of faith and confidence, like I said earlier, right? Pain management remains the same. So the other symptoms remain more or less the same. There is one thing that can happen is when someone receives an organ, and at times they've received an organ because someone passed away, and they've received the organ from that person. So there may be guilt about someone had to die to give me life. That guilt is also something that can be addressed through hypnosis. What you really do with hypnosis in that case is help them recognize that the other person's death was not on them. The person died because of their own circumstances. It's just that they happen to be at the right place at the right time. And the guilt gets converted more into gratitude rather than remaining as guilt, which then internally bothers me. And then is the part where the person who receives that organ, a lot of times they say that it feels different. It's almost like there's something alien inside me. You don't feel it's a part of you. So hypnosis can also be used to make the unconscious create an internal environment where that organ feels more at home, where the system adapts to the new organ which has been received by this person. So in all of these ways, hypnosis can come very handy. What you need to realize is, when I'm saying hypnosis can come very handy, it's not like you do 1 hour session, it happens. It may require 3, 4, 5 sessions with people. You can also teach them processes that they can do with themselves, but generally 4 to 5 sessions is a very good time frame in which most things, unless they have other psychological component. For example, someone may be experiencing trauma because guilt because there was also earlier trauma. Then it may take an additional couple of sessions here and there. But apart from that, 4 to 5 sessions is good enough to help these people address the symptoms or the causes of what they're experiencing. Now, can we have questions, and then along with that I can...
Thank you very much, Rotarian Nitin Shah, for elaborating about the hypnosis. Before we will open to all our members, I would like to ask you if hypnosis can work miracles as per your things, that one can leave the smoking, or it can be very beneficial for those who wants to donate organs, because we are talking of living organs donation, even to their own kith and kin. But there is always a trauma that what will happen to me, whether I will be working, whether I will be whatsoever the conditions. It's really a traumatic condition for even for a person who is who has to donate. And similarly, you have mentioned about the recipient, that a person who is receiving. Now, again, there are two things. One is a living recipient who has given, somebody of his family has donated, and one who has received it after somebody's brain death. Now, in all those cases, according to you, hypnosis can do wonders. My question to you is, if it is so, why it is not used globally? Because if hypnosis is according to do wonders in not only in organ donation, in every medical field or everything, what are the scientific proof? Whether you have scientific proof about this, whether researches has been done, whether it has been published in the medical journals like Lancet, etc. If it is so, then why it has not been approved by the government of India? Why it is not been, the degrees are not being given by the recognized universities? This is a basic question which I want to know from you.
So I'll take each of these questions one by one to help you understand this.
Yeah.
Right? So first bit, can hypnosis really do all of these wonders? The answer is yes. That there is no second opinion about. Will it work in every case? Obviously, like medicine, not every medicine will work for everyone. So there's a possibility that there are cases where you may need more support than just hypnosis and what we are talking about. But hypnosis will still be able to make the other person's life better than what it was. That there's no second opinion about. The prerequisite is the willingness of the person who's going through the process. Which then brings us to, are there documented researches? In fact, hypnosis is one of those fields where if you search properly, the amount of research available on it is not funny. It's incredibly large amount of research. one of the first places where hypnosis began to be used extensively was during World War II and during World War II, because at that time, anesthesia, chemical anesthesia would need to be measured very acutely. And the measuring equipment at that time were not that precise. So more people will die out of the wrong dosage of anesthesia than because of the failure of surgery. And there are documented cases researched about application of hypnosis during world wars for surgeries, and this was to manage pain. It was almost used as a replacement for anesthesia, and that's where the field of hypnoanesthesia comes into play. Where do you find these researches? I will share a link with all of you if you want. We've actually collated a list of around 70-80 research papers which combines hypnosis with different approaches of therapy to get different variety of results. So I'll share that link with you and you'll be able to get the details about it over there. The problem with most of those researches are that they are behind paywalls. So you really have to either pay for it to get access to it, or you have to find your own ways of looking at someone, meeting someone who probably has the access to that research and to really be able to explore it. But we were able to collect a list of research papers. Many of them are freely available, so probably that could come handy for all of you. Why is it not recognized by the government of India? In fact, in 2002, the government of India has passed a notification. The notification states that along with Ayush, which are in addition to obviously the medical field, which includes Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, Yoga, and homeopathy. These 5 are recognized under Ayush. There are 2 additional fields which have been considered for recognition. One is acupressure and second is hypnotherapy. The only reason why the government has not given its go-ahead completely, in my opinion, there's really no way of knowing otherwise, is because predominantly hypnosis falls within the realm of psychology. And in India, counseling psychologists don't have an association of their own. So hypnosis though is a very far off thing that we are talking about. Recently, this month, there is a new national-wide board that has been created, where counseling psychologists can register themselves. But even there, the laws and the regulations and the notifications are all incomplete. So if counseling psychologists don't have an association of their own, hypnosis, so we are long way away to go right now. Having said that, internationally, there are multiple associations, but none of them really, okay, so I can't say none of them. There is one in UK called the General Hypnotherapy Standards Council. So UK is one of the only countries where alternative therapies are regulated under their law. And there is a complementary National Healthcare Council that alternative practitioners, including hypnotherapists, can register themselves with the board and then they can practice legally over there. So UK already has that board. In US, some states have regulations, some states don't have regulations because each state seems to work in their own ways over there. So there is no cohesive law all across. In most other countries, it's assumed that if you're going to practice hypnosis, you will practice hypnosis in combination with another specialization that you have. So either you're a psychologist who's using hypnosis in combination with psychology, or you're a medical practitioner and you will use hypnosis in combination with medical practices. So therefore, they don't have a separate regulation for hypnosis because the understanding is that your regulation to practice with patients comes from your primary education. This is your additional skills that you're using to work with clients. We have been trying to make an effort. We went to the Ministry of both Education and Health a few years back to have a conversation about having a board for hypnosis. But again, their answer was counseling psychology doesn't have a board, so hypnosis, so we are not even considering right now. So hopefully it will happen someday, but I don't know when it will happen. So I guess I've covered most of your questions.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. And that is what, because if we will get this recognized properly by the government of India at least, or other governments, or the researches, because what I have seen in the alternate therapy, as you have mentioned, people are not disclosing their things openly, like Ayurveda. Ayurveda is having so much potential and have so much scope and can do miracles. But the problem is, I have spoken to somebody and somebody came from UK that 80% of organ transplants can be stopped by only using the Ayurveda. I said, where is the proof? He says, no, you send me the patients and I will cure it. Now, one person cannot cure the entire world, and so many people are dying every minute. One person is dying in India. So one can understand the gravity. So that's why I was saying. Anyway, thank you very much.
So before we go, Ralji, just one thing to keep in mind. See, one of the problems that we are facing in India is that there are many people who are calling themselves hypnotherapists without actually properly getting trained, because there's no regulation. So, and also to be fair, hypnosis has immense application. It's not just in therapy. It can be in coaching, it can be in motivational speaking, it can be in advertising. So you can't really regulate who learns hypnosis and practices it. But when you're talking about working with someone for organ donation, for traumas, for deep emotional issues, just keep this in mind, that the person needs to have at least completed their master's in psychology and should be properly trained in hypnosis. When I say properly trained, it can't be a 1 day, 2 day, 3 day training program. Well, we offer a 1 year training program, and even after that, we have to offer lifetime support to our students to ensure that they can come back and ask us questions anytime they get stuck with their clients. So just keep in mind that thing needs to be considered.
Okay, thank you very much, Rotarian Nitin Shah. This is from my side. Now over to you, Rotarian Ritika Gupta, for conducting the further question answer session.
Sure. While we go ahead with the questions from everyone, I would first like to ask my question to Rotarian Shah. So thank you very much for the wonderful talk that you gave. And I had actually two questions to ask. One is a very brief one, saying that is NLP same as hypnosis, or is it a small part of it?
Okay. So NLP is neuro-linguistic programming.
Correct.
It's basically a field where the practitioners studied other people, found out what works, and converted it into a model that can be replicated by other people. So in itself, if you notice, NLP doesn't have anything of itself. It's all borrowed by studying other people. But the biggest contribution that NLP made was the fact that others were doing things intuitively. So they were getting results like Lalji mentioned, but if you ask them to teach it to someone else, they will not be able to, because when you ask, how do you know what to tell someone? They say, I know it intuitively. Now, how do you teach intuition to someone? What NLP founders did was they studied people and they realized while people who think they are following intuitions, maybe following intuitions, but there's a pattern to that intuition. They studied the pattern, they documented the pattern, and now those patterns are what you learn in NLP programs. Now, one of the people whose patterns that they studied extensively was Milton Erickson, who is considered to be the father of modern hypnotherapy. So all change processes in NLP are actually derivatives of hypnosis. But you can think of NLP as applied hypnosis. And when people learn hypnosis and NLP, this is the distinction. Learning NLP is like learning to drive a very fast car. It can take you to places.
But it involves hypnosis. Hypnosis. Yes.
But if it breaks down, then you don't know what to do with that broken down car.
That is where you step in.
Nuts and bolts of the car. It helps you understand what made the process work, and if it's not working, what do you do next to make it work?
Is what a hypnotherapist would do. And another thing
hypnosis will do. Yeah.
Okay. Another thing when you mentioned was that meditation is a guided meditation is also a sort of a state of process, hypnosis process. But I feel meditation is something where someone can automatically come out of that situation if they want to. Guided meditation is totally in your control. You can always come out of it every time you are in a guided meditation. But if at all you're in hypnosis, can someone come out by themselves, or it is only by the will of the therapist?
The will of the therapist is irrelevant in the entire process. The therapist is the most irrelevant part of the hypnotherapy process. The only person of relevance is the client.
And all the notes are made by the therapist.
Correct. But that's okay. So when you do guided meditations, those guided meditations are created by certain people based on certain learnings that they've gone through. There's some spiritual philosophy. So let's say there's a spiritual guided meditation. So someone has a spiritual practice. Based on those spiritual practices, they've understood this can help people create a change. And that's how they've created a guided meditation. Right? Now, this is a more generic way of helping people. A hypnotherapist would actually sit with you to understand exactly what you are going through. Then we'll follow the same process of creating a process that will work for you. It's just that hypnotic process is more personalized for you, as opposed to guided meditation, which works on a larger audience at a large. So therefore, they have to keep it a bit more general. At the same time, even with hypnosis, there can be group hypnotic sessions. In fact, like I said, we have had people that we have trained who are from who were doing Osho meditations earlier, as in they were training people in Osho meditations. They went through our courses and they told us that now I know why am I using certain words in the meditation. I was using it, but I did not know why was the meditation so effective. Right? So it's basically the art of utilizing words to be able to influence people better. But you can always, as a client, choose to step aside. At no point is the hypnotherapist in control of it.
Okay.
And also in hypnosis, there's self-hypnosis. So the same thing that we spoke about, it's just that self-hypnosis will generally be faster than generic guided meditations, simply because guided meditations follow a particular structure. In self-hypnosis, you literally give a association which you can tap into. So if you have, there are certain meditations where they will give you beach mantra, that you repeat this mantra and you will connect to God. That beach mantra is actually hypnosis. That's actually an anchor that is created so that you can access that state quickly. Okay. And then you can come out of it on your own.
Rotary Nitin,
Yes,
I
Nitin.
have a point.
Hmm.
And hypnosis is one of the powerful techniques, and it is not one, it has multiple techniques to achieve a goal. Now, suppose I have a habit which I want to give up. For example, my dependence on the mobile phone, if I am seeing it for a longer time than is healthy for my eyes and general well-being, versus I don't want to give it up, I enjoy doing that one. In those two cases, will hypnosis work equally effectively, and will the same technique be used by you to cure me of this habit?
So one, hypnosis will help you when you're willing to change and you're not able to change. So which means if you were to tell me that, Nitin, I spend a lot of time on my screen, I enjoy watching it, but I want to quit, I want to change. As long as you want to change, then the hypnotic processes will come handy immediately. Then there are no issues. Now let's say I want to influence your opinion of how much internet or how much screen time you use, because you're currently not willing to even give it up. You don't even feel that it's a problem. Now, slowly and gradually, I will have to help your mind recognize the side effects of that scrolling, and through that, create an environment where your conscious mind becomes open. That, all right, maybe it's not in my interest. Right? Now, when I say to make it open, doesn't mean that I'm able to manipulate you or control you. What it really means is I'm able to give you reasons in a very articulate, effective way, as long as those reasons are reasonable. You will notice that your mind recognizes the need to give up on that screen time. You may still enjoy it, but at least you will be willing to give up on it. Now, the moment you're willing to give up on it, now whether you enjoy it or not becomes actually irrelevant, because that's the current state. We want to be able to change that. The process over there. So in general, when we work with any of these problems, we break problems into 3 layers. That certain behaviors are driven by our ongoing thoughts and feelings. Some are driven by our underlying beliefs and values. And some are being driven by past traumatic experience. So depending upon which particular layer is driving your current behavior, different techniques are selected. The first layer will always be worked upon. So for example, I would work with you in a way in which you can restructure your thoughts. That the moment you look at the screen, you realize there's something else better that I can do right now. The moment you look at the screen and you invested 10 minutes on the screen, you feel bored. This I will begin with, because this is the simplest and the easiest way to proceed. Now, if this works, you don't need to do anything else. If this doesn't work, then probably there's a deeper belief that we need to address. Then there's a process called levels of transformation or subconscious talk, which we can use to connect your unconscious to understand what the underlying beliefs are and then help you change those beliefs. And sometimes when we're exploring beliefs, past traumatic experiences come up. Then you use processes like inner child or regression to help you address them. So which process we will use, even if there are two people with the exact same symptoms of scrolling the screen, they may not remain the same. They may change from people to people, depending upon what their underlying causes are. But if I had to create a standard protocol for people to give up screen time, then the standard protocol would include all three of them: working with thoughts and emotions, exploring underlying beliefs, exploring if there are any past suppressed emotions and traumatic memories that need to be worked
Uh, now, suppose, hypnosis is a technique if I have mastered it, and I have a 8-year-old nephew who hates to go to school. Will hypnosis techniques will persuade him to go to school willingly?
So it will do a couple of things. Hypnotic techniques will help you have a conversation with the child in a way in which the child feels comfortable with you, comfortable enough to be able to first help you understand why they are uncomfortable. And once you understand this, if there's a rational, logical reason, then you will be able to address that reason. If the reason is more mental, at times that I'm worried that I would not be able to study well, the teacher will pick on me. So this has not really happened. This is just something that's playing in the child's mind. Then you'll also be able to use hypnosis to help the child get over those thoughts and those emotions. Right? But what I'm saying is, we also, when we are talking about hypnosis, we are not bereft of what is actually happening in the world. So if the child doesn't want to go to the school because he's being bullied in the school, right now he may not be comfortable enough to tell you that. Hypnosis will help him become comfortable enough to share that with you, as long as he feels you are working in his interest. And then depending upon that, you can go ahead and see what needs to be done. It can be an emotional intervention also. It can also be a more realistic, rational intervention.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Rotary and Nitin.
Yeah, please
This is Dr.
go
Monis
ahead.
from Bangalore. Yeah. So I've got two questions. The first part is when we speak about meditation and hypnosis, so is there an overlap or are they two separate state of beings? That's first thing. The second question is what has been your experience with respect to an organ like an organ donor or organ recipient and hypnosis, sir?
Okay. So the first question, hypnosis and meditation. So to be fair, both hypnosis and meditation as words mean multiple things. There are some places where there is overlap. There are some places where there is a distinctive distinction. So for example, when we talk about meditation, meditation broadly can be divided in two parts. There are meditations about things which are more concrete. So meditation is awareness. Awareness of what? Awareness of something which is very concrete becomes mindfulness. So when I meditate on my breath, when I meditate on looking at something that's in front of me, when I meditate while I'm walking to observe the sensations in my body and the movements in my body, all of this becomes mindfulness meditation, where I'm becoming aware of something which is concrete. My breath is concrete, my movement is concrete, right? And then there's the other kind of meditation where we're trying to become aware of what is abstract. So people meditate on concepts, people meditate on mantras, people meditate on spiritual ideas, people would meditate on gods, on white light. So all of these are not tangible things, but you're trying to become aware of something which is intangible. Right? So meditation broadly is this, but the primary objective of meditation is awareness. Awareness can become a route to induce a hypnotic state. So awareness is one of the hypnotic processes. You can use awareness to induce someone in a hypnotic state. You can also use hypnosis to make someone more aware. So it's a two-way relationship over there. Okay. So that's about meditation in this. As far as organ donation is concerned, I've only worked with one person who was the receiver of the organ. Right. Though I worked with a lot of psychosomatic issues. For example, I worked with someone who was going through chemo treatment for cancer. So there are other people that I've worked with where physical components have been very heavy. But specifically with organ donation, there's only, as far as I remember, there's only one person that I've worked with who was a recipient of the organ. And these are the two primary problems that they experienced. One was guilt. And second was the feeling that it feels it's not me. There's a feeling that, I think the words that they used was that it's almost like something alien is inside me. Right? So these two things is what we were able to work with, and they were fine after the process we did and the treatment protocol that we followed. As far as other things are concerned, like I said, so with the cancer patient that I was working with, they were obviously going through chemo treatment. The problem that they were facing was that it was a relapse of an earlier cancer. And the lady that I was working with was around 75 years old. So the family was worried that we don't know whether cancer would kill her, but we are worried chemo treatment may kill her because of all the side effects associated to that. And they wanted to see if we can use hypnosis to minimize the amount of side effects of those of the chemo treatment. We were able to do that. I worked with her before every chemo treatment. 3 days prior to that, I would do a session with her. We worked with both the things. The psychological component of what she was feeling that may have probably enhanced the chances of the cancer and the relapse. And second was how her body responds to the chemo treatment. And after the treatment, both the doctors and the family were surprised because the doctors were of the opinion that the amount of side effects that we expected them to have, that what we really have is probably 10% of that. So that was a huge difference. And second, the family members were very surprised because after the first chemo treatment, the earlier round of cancer treatments that she went through, she would not want to get out of her room for 6 months. And after this one, even though this was a relapse, it would probably have been more harder on her body and so on. After 1.5 months, she was willing to go down. She would go to the church. The church was just nearby her house. Someone would have to accompany her. But the fact that she was willing to get out of the house, go all the way to the church, was something that family thought. We did not think that it would give us results like this. Now, I'm not saying this is probably only because of the hypnotic treatment. I'm sure there was hypnosis. I'm sure the doctors would have taken care of certain things. But the primary difference between her first round of cancer treatment and the second round was the fact that we also added the hypnosis processes with her.
Thank you so much.
Yes, doctor, can I ask one question?
Yes, please.
Can I ask one question, Rotary Nitinji?
Yes, Gidari, please go ahead.
I was reading a book by Dr. Brian Weiss, I think. Right? You must have read it. It's all about hypnotism and going back into the lives, the several lives earlier. So is it the same thing, the hypnosis and what Dr. Brian Weiss says?
So what Dr. Brian Weiss suggests is a very small part of hypnosis. Hypnosis is a lot more.
Okay.
Also, what Dr. Brian Weiss suggests about hypnosis and past life, you have to understand that there is a lot of misinformation around past life. When Dr. Brian Weiss wrote that book and he mentioned about the patient going into the past life, he was not trying to explore a past life. It wasn't that he believed in past life when he told the client, I'll take you into a past life, and the client went into a past life. He was following a treatment process. The client happened to reach an experience which was not from their current life. And in that experience, they recovered certain insights which were able to help them transform their life. Right? Now, when we follow hypnosis with clients, one, does past life really exist? To that extent, the answer is it depends upon what belief systems you follow. But what really happens is at times when you have people experiencing patterns in life, patterns mean that it's sustained for a long period. So it's coming from the past. Now you want to explore past. So you use a process called regression with clients. You tell the client, let's go back to the point of entry of this problem. Now, in most cases, when you ask people to go to point of entry, they'll go to one of the childhood experiences in current life. May even be in the mother's womb, but generally one of the current life experiences. Now, if that's the case, then there is no dispute, no questions. We are good to go. But at times, people tap into an experience which they've never had in their life. So, for example, someone says, I can see myself in a desert. And then they say, but I have never been to a desert in my life. So now there's a contradiction that they are going through an imaginary process where their mind brings up a memory which is not really a part of their real life. But the memory is helping them understand their current challenge, is helping them get insights and learnings that can be applied in their current life. So the memory is useful. But what do we call this memory? So people who believe in past life would call it past life. People who don't believe in past life but believe in parallel lives. Now that Marvel Universe has created this whole story of parallel universes, people will say, oh, this could be parallel universes. There are certain people who will not believe in either, and they will say this is like a dream. You know how at times in dreams we get answers to our questions?
Yeah.
My mind created a symbolic picture to help me get answers. Now, whether you want to call it past life, parallel lives, dreams, to me, it doesn't matter because I'm not Sherlock Holmes. I'm not trying to find whether past life exists or not. My primary objective is to see whether the information can help the client address their current problem and resolve it going forward in the future. To that extent, that information is very useful.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Just a question, because you spoke about past lives. Because in grade 11, 12, we had a physics professor. So he used to say, whenever you go to sleep with a doubt, be rest assured when you wake up in the morning, your doubt will be cleared. I mean, he said there is some supernatural thing where your soul leaves the body, goes out to the galaxy, gets the answer, comes back. Is there some overlap with this story that we're sharing right now, Nitinji?
So the phenomena is correct. The explanations are different. So what happens is, I'm sure many a times you would have experienced this. When we were young children, we were doing, let's say, a math sum, we got stuck on that. While thinking about it, we went off to sleep, and in the morning we wake up and all of a sudden we wrote, oh shit, this is the step that I was missing. So how did you get that answer when you were sleeping? So the thing is, remember we spoke about conscious and unconscious? So generally when we are stuck, we are trying to get answers through our conscious mind. But our conscious mind actually has a very limited capacity. Okay, so while we are trying to find answers consciously, if we can find the answers, good enough. But sometimes we don't find the answers and we give up. In which case the unconscious is a type. If you've given up, so it may not be important. In other cases, we want to find the information. We are not able to. Consciously, we are stuck. And then the unconscious takes over because the unconscious is like, how can you not get this answer? And then it goes on its own internal search. So now remember, your unconscious has huge degree of information available with us. In the way we understand it, everything that you have witnessed in your life, whether consciously or otherwise, through your senses, since the moment you were conceived till today, is stored in that mind. So now with all that information available, obviously coming to an answer becomes easier. There's also an extension of it where the idea is that your unconscious is connected to something called a superconscious, which is like, if our unconscious is our hard disk, superconscious is like hard disk of all the people living brought together. So it's like the internet of memories. And that while you're sleeping, it also has a potential to tap into that internet. Now, whether that is right or wrong, it's, well, just your guess is as good as my guess. But the answers do come. In just sorry, Ritika, just 1 second, just to answer this. For example, before I got married, so I am a Jain, my wife is a Muslim. I went to meet her father and I spoke to him and I told him that I want to get married to her. And she was under a house arrest from next day onwards. So I had no way of knowing whether she's safe or not. I would actually sleep by asking myself that I want to know whether she's safe or not. I don't care whether we are together or not. I just want to know whether she's safe. While I would sleep, I would actually see dreams of me going to her area, following a particular set of steps, and seeing her, knowing that she's safe. When I would wake up in the morning, I would feel very excited that, oh, she's safe. But then I would realize that this is a dream. One of the days I felt very restless, so I actually went to her area. And I said, I will follow the dream that I followed. I did exactly the same thing that I did in the dream, and I saw her exactly where I saw her in my dream. After this, for 9 months, this has been my normal routine. In the night while I was sleeping, if I see her dream, that's an indicator tomorrow I have to go to her area. During the day when I felt restless, it meant go to her area and do exactly what you did in the dream. Not once in 9 months have I gone into that area after seeing a dream and I have not seen it. So I am open to the idea, I've experienced it, so I can't discard it. I'm open to the idea there's something more than what my mind knows. But how the mind taps into that is
Wonderful.
One small question, sir.
Okay. Yes, please go ahead, Himlata ji.
Yeah, Nitin ji.
We'll come to you after this Rotarian Dipan Shah. After
And,
ma'am,
and Rotarian Ramnath Pradeep is waiting for long.
yeah,
Okay,
oh,
no problem.
No, it's okay. I am learning out of this.
Okay,
You
okay.
go
Please
ahead.
go ahead.
Not a problem.
Nitinji, it was wonderful session.
Thank
Actually,
you.
I want to know, does hypnotherapy work on everyone? Whether they'll tell only the truth or they may not tell the truth. Then what is clinical hypnosis?
Okay.
Will
So
not affect the persons.
Okay. So hypnosis is actually not about finding the truth. So when you induce someone in a hypnotic state, you are helping people become aware of information which is there in their mind. Whether they choose to tell you the information or not is still their choice. So for example, if I'm working with someone who, let's say, was having trust issues, I guided them in a hypnotic state and I asked them, let's go to the point of entry of this problem. Let's say when they were very young, they were molested by someone in their family. Now, because the trust issue is coming from here, they will be able to tap into this memory. But whether they choose to tell that memory to me or not is their choice. And to be fair, I don't even need to know that memory. As long as they tell me I have tapped into the memory, there are processes that I can do where without knowing what the memory is, I can help them address it, deal with it, and overcome the trust issue that they're facing in their life. So hypnosis is not about finding truth. It's about helping people tap into their own memories, their own experiences, or their own beliefs that they may not be aware of. Okay. What is clinical hypnosis? Like I said, hypnosis can be applied to multiple areas. I know, so for example, I have a student who's a journalist who's now exploring how we can apply hypnosis in journalism. I'm planning to create a complete video series where we're going to talk about
See you and the light
channels.
doesn't change.
Oh, no.
Move up a little.
Sorry.
Just a minute. I think.
I put him on mute.
Okay,
That was
okay. Please go
Rotarian
ahead. Please
Dipan
go ahead.
Shah.
Please
Yeah.
go ahead.
Okay, sorry. So, for example, I'm planning to create a complete video series in the coming days, which will be about how advertisements knowingly and unknowingly already use hypnosis, news channels, and therefore we have such such extreme opinions nowadays about what's happening in the country because they are influenced by news channels, and news channels are all using hypnosis in different ways to influence our minds. So, hypnosis has multiple applications. Its application towards clinical cases, where people have certain trauma, certain intense negative emotions, that becomes a part of clinical hypnosis.
Okay. Next question, please. Mr. Dipan Shah, you want to ask, or Mr. Ramnath Pradeep?
He's on mute right now. Both of them are on mute.
Just.
Yeah, you can continue.
Okay.
No problem.
So, Rotarian
I enjoyed
Ramnath Pradeep,
this.
please go ahead. You can ask your question. Sir is still on mute. Rotarian Dipan Shah, you're on mute. Do you want to? Okay, we are going ahead with Rotarian Ramnath Pradeep for now. Please ask your question.
Okay. Dr. Nitin, it has been a very interesting area of psychology, in fact, is you have brought out to us. And in fact, everybody knows this consciously or unconsciously. I wanted to understand this narco, when the narco test is being conducted, it is trying to find out the truth. Can it be also use hypnosis to find out the truth?
So again, the objective of a lot of these things is that people tap into their memories. Let me put it the other way around. You know how at times people drink, their resistances are down and they talk about a lot of things that they would otherwise not talk about. So many ways, what hypnosis, narco tests are doing are bringing the inhibitions of people to degrees where they will be able to talk about certain things. But in that state, whether they would tell you the truth or not would also depend upon their training. So because if someone is very well trained, for example, someone from army, someone from secret service, they would be trained to be able to lie under narco analysis also. So that's the reason why courts don't actually consider the testimony under narco analysis as a evidence, not a direct evidence. It can be a collaborative evidence which can be collaborated through other factors, but by itself, it will never be considered as the ultimate truth.
Yeah,
Also, the idea of ultimate. also, sorry, 1 second. Also, the idea of ultimate truth is thoda sa dicey because all of us experience things in different ways. So both you and me can be a part of the same memory, same experience. But the way we describe it later on, what we remember out of it later on, can be completely different. And therefore, they can be contradictory, what do we call it? Testimonies by people for the same experience.
Same cause.
So, correct.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to understand. Okay, thank you very much.
Rotary and Deepansha is there? No.
He's there. I've asked him to unmute. Let's see. He's trying to unmute. Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, so wonderful, Mr. Goel, Ritika, Gupta, and very wonderful subject, Nitin, why you brought up. And just click in my mind, the simple question I want to understand the science behind it. How hypnosis break the chain if someone has a bad habits, right? Or someone is in abnormal things to do. How this theory works psychologically?
See, so what happens is when someone has a bad habit, the bad habit is a result of a combination of factors. Either it's driven by simply a habit pattern created due to repetition. That over the years, so it's like, when you go and take a bath, you wouldn't even realize, but every time the way you use soap is exactly the same. You start from one part of the body, end at the last part of the body, and you can actually map it every day with awareness. And you'll realize that you're taking a bath in exactly the same way. Same as brushing your teeth. So this is one which is purely out of repetition. Here you can just give hypnotic suggestions to be able to break those patterns. That's quite possible. Second is there are times where people are involved in certain patterns because they're deriving something unconsciously. Now the problem is they're deriving something at an unconscious level that are not aware of. So how do they even change it? Right? I'm not even talking about habit now because habit is comparatively easier. I'm going to give you an example where a person was doing everything they could to manage their weight. They were regularly exercising, dieting, you name it, and they were doing it all. To an extent where their dietitian and their gym instructor had told them, if we ask you to do something, it will actually create a negative impact on your health. Nothing worked. They eventually started working with me. It was funny both for him and for me because when we started working, eventually we did something called as a subconscious talk, where we asked the unconscious what is stopping their body from giving up their extra weight. The answer they came up with was Marwadi khate pite ghar kyun nahi chahiye. And if you think of it, it's such a simple statement. We have all heard it growing up in our life. We would think it's a harmless statement, but their body had imbibed that to an extent where the body was not willing to let go of the weight. Because how do I look from a khate pite ghar ka? Either by dressing in a particular way or by holding on to a particular kind of a body posture. He was not someone who was into very showing off as far as dressing and everything is concerned. So the other way of looking from a khate pite ghar ka is this belief. Now we worked on the belief and nothing else changed. And in 3 months, his weight was well within the numbers that he wanted it to be. To an extent where he is now planning to compete for, or at least he was at one time planning to compete for the, I'm forgetting the name of the challenges. I think a strongman challenge or something, which is internationally one of the most resilience testing challenge for humans. So from where he was to where he is, because of all of this. Coming back to habits. So with habits, there could be things where the habit patterns are also serving a purpose. Like people who have OCDs may have the habit of wanting everything at the right place. Now, why do they want everything at the right place? Because those things at the right place provide them a comfort which they don't have otherwise. So unless we find a better way for their unconscious to experience comfort, they will not give up on the habit. So how hypnosis works for habit patterns? It recognizes what the underlying cause of the habit is. What purpose is the habit serving at an unconscious level? Is it being driven by a belief or a value? Depending upon whatever it is, if it's belief or values, we help them address the beliefs or values. If it's positive intention, we help them find another way of fulfilling that purpose. And then we train their mind to involve in new habits. Now, one of the things that I do with training people for new habit patterns is we actually train them for relapses. So what happens many times is, for example, I want to wake up every day in the morning early. I start waking up, my mind gets trained. But a week then I went for a party. It ended up late. I got up in the morning late. Now, once that one break happens, next day onwards, the break starts again. And it becomes very difficult for people to go back into the cycle. So to help them ensure that they are able to stick to the new habits, we actually train them for the breaks. There will be times where you would sleep late, you will wake up in the morning late. When you wake up, you will realize that this is one of those cheat days that you have. And then in the night, you will feel sleepy earlier because you know you had your cheat day. Now, you need to get back to your normal life. So you're actually training their mind to not remain in that broken habit pattern, but to actually go back to the original habit because the mind is trained that way. So those are some of the things that we do when it comes to habit pattern.
Okay. I think Rotarian Sunil Gupta, are you there, Rotarian Sunil Gupta? Would you like to ask a question because you are a organ recipient yourself?
Yes, good morning from California. Great talk, Rotarian Mr. Nitin Shah. Thank you so much. And the power of suggestion is very, very strong. And, you know, some of the things that I kind of was getting insights in terms of learning the behaviors for living a very healthy life, being a organ recipient. But I do struggle with a lot of things that you mentioned today, whether it's staying healthy because of the medications you have to take, whether it is the guilt you feel because, you know, of the donor's organ, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you very much. But the question I had was precisely this is, how do I get in touch with you so I can book myself some hypnotic sessions with you to get over some of these behaviors?
So for that, I think what I will do, I will share his number if he allows. Is it okay, Rotarian?
Yes, please feel free to.
Yeah, so I will share in the group. So then Rotarian Sunil Gupta, you will have his number and you can talk directly. Is it okay?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think now today we have crossed the time. We are supposed to close our meeting before 9, but it's already 9:12. But I assure all our members and the viewers who are watching live or who are going to watch afterwards that actually when I spoke to Rotarian Nitin Shah, it was decided that he and his wife, she's, I think, more competent. I will not say on his face, otherwise he will feel bad. But the things which I was told that she is quite competent. And so what we have decided that we will bring her also in one of the meeting, and that we will, because this is a topic where lots of things people want to answer. Like, I would not like to go for hypnosis because I know that you will come to know my truth, which I don't want to disclose. And that's why I avoid the hypnosis thing. Anyway, thank you very much. Over to you, Rotarian Ritika Gupta.
Thank you very much. Moving on, any other matter to be discussed with permission of the chair?
I think now we are already late.
Beyond time, yes. Yeah. For the first time, as I can, from what I can remember.
Yes.
All right. So moving on to the last leg of the program today. So I would request Rotarian Girdhari Agarwal to please give a vote of thanks to Rotarian Nitin Shah. You have to unmute yourself first, please.
Thank you, Ritika.
Yeah.
It is a commendable talk which we had from Rotarian Nitin Shah. And I think this is the second time in our whole period of club that we have extended the time limit. Is it right? So
yeah,
it is commendable. He's a master in his hypnosis thing, whatever. So what do you call, technically, I say this is hypnosis anyway. So I was left with so many more questions I wanted to ask, but shortage of time, but I will have his number. So I think all the members, they also feel quite satisfied with the talks and everything. I sincerely thank Rotarian Nitin Shah for his excellent presentation about hypnosis. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I adjourn.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you found this insightful, and I look forward to connecting with you as in
very much. Thank you.
Ritika, please close the meeting.
Sure.
Thank you.
Right?